Welcome. Today I want to introduce some concepts concerning grammar and parts of speech. There are lots of different theories about where language originated, and these theories kind of contradict one another, and nobody really knows. In fact, what everybody pretty much admits, that it appears as though language appeared among humankind full-blown. That even some of the so-called primitive groups of people have very sophisticated language systems. Now, if you look at the Bible says simply, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This tells us that language is part of the nature of God. And the Bible also tells us that man was created in the image of God. And so it is the nature of both man and God to use words. From the very beginning, we read that God speaks. And this ability to communicate is one piece of evidence, among many, supporting the idea that human beings were created in the image of God. You know, it's true, some animals do have a certain amount of sound communications. We know of crows and dolphins. People estimate may have as many as 50 different sounds that maybe mean something, but they're limited. They're limited to things like, hey, there's food, there's danger, here I am, and that's really about it. And they certainly don't have the language the way people do. People in that respect are very different. Right now, as I'm recording this, there's a best-selling book that points this out, that one thing that makes people very different is the language. Now, words by themselves are not enough to communicate capably. We need something else besides a vocabulary to effectively communicate. And the difference is grammar. So look at these two sentences. John likes Mary, Mary likes John. Same vocabulary, same words, but very different meaning. I mean, it could be that John likes Mary, but, Mary wouldn't have anything to do with him if he was the last man on earth. Mary may like John, but John may hold his nose every time he thinks of her. We don't know. The grammar is what makes it different. This year, we'll be looking at English grammar, particularly how the words relate to one another in English. When we begin with grammar, we usually first talk about parts of speech. And every word in a sentence acts as a certain part of speech in that sentence. Part of speech is a term used to describe how a particular word is used. And in English, there are 8 ways a word can be used. Or, as we would say, there are 8 parts of speech. Some languages have more, some languages have fewer. English has 8. So, here's what I'm talking about. Notice the way the word love is used in each of these sentences. The first sentence says, you love Mary. Love, here, something that you do. Love never fails. In this case, love is a thing. Something that doesn't fail. Okay? And in the third sentence, get on the love train. Some of your parents may remember that song, I don't know. Maybe even your grandparents at this point. But what kind of train is it? It's a love train. Okay. Same word, love, but in each of those three sentences, it's used in a different way. And we distinguish those uses according to the part of speech. And the first part of speech I want to talk about, and this is what the rest of this video is dedicated to, is the noun. The noun is a part of speech that describes a word that names something. Generally, we say that a noun names a person, place, thing, idea, action, condition, or quality. Sometimes that's just shortened to person, place, or thing. I should tell you, too, something that drives people who are learning English nuts is English uses a lot of synonyms. In many languages, the word noun and the word name are the same word. Okay, if that gives you an idea. But in English, we've got two different words. Okay, and also, probably the best way to think about what a noun does is a noun answers one of two questions. It answers the question who or what. Okay, can you come up with some examples? Actually, if we look at even this screen, what is the part of speech? Noun. So noun in this sentence is a noun. Noun is the what? Part. Part is a noun. Of what? Of speech. Speech is a noun. You notice all of them answer the question, what? Okay. Now, sometimes we talk about different kinds of nouns for different purposes, and sometimes this helps you with understanding the way nouns are used or the way nouns work together. An abstract noun, for example, names ideas, conditions, and qualities, and actions. They're things that we know exist, but not necessarily represented by something physical that we perceive with our five senses. Examples of abstract nouns would be things like freedom or happiness. Okay, freedom is an idea, perhaps a condition. It's not necessarily anything that we perceive with our senses, but it answers the question, what? The same with happiness. A concrete noun, on the other hand, is something that can be perceived with the five senses. Concrete nouns include most persons, places, and things. Okay, if I see a person, I see him with my eyes. I can touch him, I can shake his hand, put my arm around him, something like that. I can hear him talk. I don't know about smelling and tasting so much. Sometimes I suppose we do. But, they're persons, places, and things that we perceive with our senses. And kind of everybody knows what those are. They're less abstract. I say chair, you know what I'm talking about. I may have a different idea about chair. I may think of an office chair, you may think of an easy chair, but we know what a chair is. Okay, another type of noun that we really do have to take a look at grammatically is the collective noun. Collective noun, it says here, names a group of something. Collective nouns include words like team, group, or flock. Collective nouns are normally treated singly. So we say that bunch of grapes looks delicious. Okay? Bunch is treated singly, so we say bunch looks, even though the bunch holds a number of grapes. Okay? That's pretty typical for collective nouns. And they're treated as plural only if there's more than one group. So we might say, she served 3 bunches of grapes. But there, it's plural because bunch is plural. There's more than one bunch. Now, what is maybe a little bit tricky about the collective nouns is there is a slight difference between the English spoken in North America and the English spoken in the British Isles. And that is when a group of people described by a collective noun act together. North American English still treats that word as a singular noun, while British English treats it as a plural noun. Let me give you an example. Okay, the British way would be, say, Parliament are voting on an important piece of legislation. And that's the people in Parliament are acting together, so they say Parliament are. Now, if you're just talking about the legislative body, you would use it singly. So you'd say Parliament is made up of 2 bodies. Okay? Again, it's the institution, we're not talking about the people voting. You may have heard this, say, in the Olympics recently, because some of the commentators, at least that I heard, were American or Canadian, and some of them were British. And the British would say the cycling team are delighted with their wins. Okay, because they're a group of, it's a single team, but it's made up of individuals who are all delighted. However, in North America, the United States, Canada, and so on, we say Congress is voting on an important piece of legislation. Congress, even though they might be acting together, it might be the group of people voting, it's still treated singly. Of course, we would say the United States Congress is made up of 2 bodies, same way they would in England. And the commentator, American commentator, might say the swim team is delighted with its wins. Okay, so that is one grammatical difference. In fact, it's almost about the only really difference in grammar between North American English and British English. Virtually all the other differences are differences of vocabulary. Okay, one thing I do want to mention, because some students will have difficulty with this, do not confuse collective nouns with plurals. A plural simply means more than one of a specific item. So you could have a team of soccer players. Team is the collective noun. It has a singular form, except sometimes in British English. But players is not collective, and it's simply the plural of player. There's more than one player on the team. In a match, you have 2 teams of soccer players. In this case, of course, both team and players are plural. Teams is still collective and plural because there are 2 groups playing in the match. Okay? So, I just mentioned that because every now and then I do get a student who gets the collective and the plural confused. Okay, a compound noun is made up of more than one word acting as a unit. Okay, we put those 2 words together and it really has a new meaning. So, sometimes the words are separated, but we look at them as a single unit. For example, terms like Christmas tree or fire engine. Your grammar book considers these compound nouns. Okay, some compound nouns are hyphenated, particularly words that have, compound words that have short connecting words in them, like mother-in-law or passerby. Okay, those are usually hyphenated so that we see the individual words that the compound is made up to help us read and pronounce. However, most compound words are combined into a single word. So we have words like blackbird or dishwasher. Okay, these are all compound nouns. Now, often hyphenated words become combined as they become more commonly used. If you read, for example, writings in the 1700s or the 1800s, a lot of times the word today is hyphenated. Okay? Nowadays, you never see it hyphenated. In fact, the word blackbird was frequently hyphenated up until probably 100, 120 years ago. So as they become more common, they drop the hyphen. In fact, we see that more recently with different computer terms that perhaps used to be hyphenated and no longer are as those words become more common, more widely known. Now, not all authorities recognize the two-word constructions like Christmas tree as a compound noun, but our grammar text does, so we'll use them that way. Now, a compound noun represents something different from what the individual words that make up the compound do. That's what makes it distinctive. The example I like to use, a crow is a black bird, but a crow is not a blackbird. Catch the difference. Yes, the crow is a bird that's black, but the crow is not the species that we call blackbird. And notice even the way we pronounce the words slightly differently. We say a crow is a black bird. Both black and bird get approximately the same stress. Whereas when we make a compound into a single sentence, a single word, then we put an accent on one of the syllables. So we say a crow is not a blackbird. Okay, the first syllable gets a greater stress. Okay, grammatically, nouns are often divided into two groups. We call them the common noun and the proper noun. Common noun names any one of a type of noun. In fact, in this particular sentence, let's see, noun, type, and noun are common nouns. A proper noun proper noun names a specific person, place, or thing. And proper nouns are a given name. Okay. Common nouns are normally not capitalized unless other capitalization rules apply. Obviously, if it's the first word in a sentence, it's capitalized. If it's a word in a title, first word in a quotation, then it's capitalized because of other capitalization rules. And so all the words in bold type on this page are common nouns. You can see noun, word, type, nouns, rules, word, sentence, title, word several times, quotation, type again, page, nouns. Those are all common nouns. Proper noun names a specific person, place, or thing. We sometimes say it's the given name. And proper nouns are always capitalized. So your name is a proper noun. Maybe you never thought of that before, but it is. Again, name of a person, George Washington, both George and Washington. First name and family name, both capitalized. Socrates. Okay, he didn't have a family name, he was just Socrates, but his name is, the S is capitalized. Proper nouns that name places, like New York City. New York and city are capitalized. Countries like Greece, capitalized. We often have things with given names. So the Titanic. Titanic is capitalized. That's the given name of that particular ocean liner. Fido, the name of someone's dog, is capitalized. The Beatles, the name of the music group, Beatles, is capitalized. Sometimes if it's if there's a short word, one of those connecting words, those words might not be capitalized. So we usually wouldn't capitalize the with Beatles. We might talk and say about the Duke of York. Of is not normally capitalized, although Duke and York would be, because, that's his name. Okay, so just to review, human speech and communication is made up of two parts: words, or vocabulary, and grammar. Words is the specific vocal units we use to present an idea, and grammar is the way the words relate to one another to express that thought or idea. Words are often categorized by part of speech, how a particular word is used grammatically in a sentence. In English, most authorities recognize 8 parts of speech, and a noun is a part of speech that represents a person, place, thing, idea, action, condition, or quality. Nouns that represent ideas, conditions, and qualities are normally abstract nouns. Nouns that represent persons, places, and things that can be perceived by the senses are concrete nouns. Collective noun names a group. Collective nouns, like the word group itself, are normally treated as a singular word. British English occasionally treats the collective noun as a plural when the group is taking an action. Compound nouns are made up of more than one word acting to present a single unit. Your grammar book considers terms like fire engine as a compound, since the two words together describe something very different from each word on its own. Some compound nouns are hyphenated, and most compound nouns are combined into a single word. The most common way to distinguish between nouns is to note whether they are proper nouns or common nouns. Proper nouns are the given name of someone or something and are always capitalized. Common nouns name any one of a type of someone or something and are normally not capitalized unless some other capitalization rule applies. And remember, what are the two questions that nouns answer? They answer who or what. Thank you.